recording.
So if you have to go ahead and go. Yeah, we have two. The first one is Kelly Sweet. This is his 90.
Hello. Hello, everyone. If you are not muted, please mute yourselves. That would be very kind of you. Thank you. This is Adrian Leeds, and I have Joey Byrne with me. Joey, raise your hand, say hello. He is the head of Europe for Pacaso. And I have Patty Sadoskas, who's top level staff at the Adrian Leeds Group, who helps us moderate these events. And I welcome all of you to our fractional ownership webinar. And let me go ahead and start my share my screen with you so you can see our presentation. There we go. Oh, not yet. Hang on. There we go. Okay, so I hope everybody can see the screen. Patty, you're letting people in as they come in. A few people are coming in.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what I have here is unfortunately the very last slide, so I'm going to go all the way through it. You know, one of these days we're going to get it right. So the idea here is so simple. Own a fully turnkey apartment in France today. And that's why we're going to talk about fractional ownership and the benefits, the pros and the cons. So what is fractional ownership and how does it differ from timeshare? I mean, in essence, the only real difference is that you buy an asset that you own. It is not just the ownership of time. It's really the ownership of the property itself as well. I mean, usually timeshare involves a lot of shares in a very large complex with entities, but it really is just the ownership of the time and not the property. In this case, we have a joint or co-ownership by only a few individuals in a single property whose value can easily be determined on the open market. So how does it work? You've got two or more owners with a common objective. Now, even if it's two friends or two relatives that are owning a property together, that is still considered a fractional ownership. It's one property. The ownership of the asset is through some sort of a legal entity. It could be a homeowner association on the US side, it could be an SCI on the French side, but it has to be owned through some sort of a legal entity. And then there is an agreement on the division of usage and an agreement on the division of the costs. Here are the pros and cons. And as you can see, there's only a few cons and a lot of pros. Joey, feel free to jump in on any of these. But basically, on the con, there is definitely a limited amount of flexibility, of control, because you're one of several owners. So it's not like your own property that you can do whatever you want with. There is a relative amount of inflexibility, but it's relative and it depends on the property you buy. There are no tax benefits. There's no rental income normally because normally speaking, the other owners don't want to rent the property out to strangers. There's normally no financing on it, and there are some management fees. But on the pro side, you've got a really low cash outlay for a really beautiful property. You have a very high efficiency of use. So let's say you wanted to be in Paris and only be there 2 months a year, but to own a property that is vacant the other 10 months is certainly not efficient usage of the property. Clearly, you get a lot more property for your money. There's no mortgage involved. There's no rental issues to deal with. The costs are shared, so that keeps your costs way down. You do have true ownership, which means that you can sell the property. The cost of selling the property is really low. It can also be very quick and easy. And the property can be sold in its entirety with a unanimous vote of the entire ownership body. In our cases, in both Pacaso and Adrian Leeds Group, our properties are US-based ownership. So when there is a transfer of shares, it doesn't go back through the French system. And Pacaso offers something really special. They offer a shared usage among all or most of their properties, which is a major benefit. And it's something that we cannot actually offer. And I know Joey's going to be talking about that in greater depth later. So here's the thing. I will not represent a property for sale that doesn't meet our standards. And I have really high standards. A property has to be highly desirable. It has to be well located, well designed and decorated and appointed. I call it a jewel, and it has to be something that is unlike any other property in its category. The usage calendar itself is really important. That needs to be attractive to a wide variety of owners, and it has to really work for them. So that's an important element. On top of all that, you've got the legal structure and the supporting documents must be 100% correct to avoid any conflicts among owners. I have seen too many other developers not pay much attention to this, and I think that's a really big mistake. On top of that, quality management must be in place to keep the property running very well and remove any unnecessary obligations by Let's face it, an owner wants to be able to walk in with their suitcases, not think about a single thing, and just enjoy their property. But important to all this, and this is my feeling, that owners need to be like-minded. They need to at least be able to respect one another and understand that they're working together as a group because that's just too important. So there are different kinds of usage plans. And we're going to actually show you some properties a little later on that do have different usage plans. Rotating is one of them, and that's the kind of usage plan that we use, where you get a different period each year. There are some usage plans that are fixed. So if you buy into a particular month, you're going to have that same month every year. Sometimes you'll see a split deal where it offers sort of a high season, low season usage. And then there are hybrids which combine some of these. So they're a little more complicated. But all of these are possible. And by the way, once an ownership body is complete, the owners have the ability to change the way they use the property. That's entirely possible. Once it's sold out and it's in the hands of the owners, then they can make their own decision on this. Now, with the pricing, the share prices are based on the costs associated with the development of the project combined with current share market value. That is not the value of the property itself. You cannot say, okay, this property has 8 shares. 8 times the price of the shares is what the property is valued at. You cannot equate that. It's always going to be more than what the property would be sold on the open market. So the shares themselves have their own special value. Now, the operating costs are just like the operating costs of any property, but they're shared among all the owners, and they would include the various taxes, which are taxe d'habitation and taxe foncière, the utilities, of course, water, electricity, gas, telephone, TV, internet, the homeowner association charges of the building itself, the insurance on the property, what it costs to have housekeeping and a concierge and provide maintenance. Then there's also the management fees and accounting fees, as well as US and French tax filing costs and fees. And then normally there's some sort of a reserve fund for future assessments. So all of that gets shared among the owners. So there is a homeowner association, very much like you would have in any condo building in the US. The shareholders agree to the bylaws when they purchase the shares. There's an ownership body that is formed that is self-governed with the assistance from some sort of a management coordinator. Meetings are held annually or more often as they are needed or wanted. They can be in Zoom or in person. And the officers are then initially appointed, then elected later down the road, and bylaws can be changed by voting. So once it's in the hands of the owners, then really they can do whatever they want with the property. Now, most of our buyers really want to know about reselling their shares. It's like, how liquid is this? And I can tell you that I think that the Adrian Leeds Group, has probably sold more shares on the open market than any other single developer, because we have access to so many different developers who have come to us and individual owners to sell their shares. And I will tell you that we have never, not one time, have we sold a share at a loss to the seller. They've always made a profit, which means that the only cost they've incurred is whatever costs they've had in the year that they share with the other owners for the operating expenses. So it's pretty easy. First, you set your price, and then you have to make the first offer to the other shareholders. They have first right of refusal in almost all cases. You can certainly sell it to a friend or an associate. You don't need to put it on the open market, but you can, and we do offer it. There are other sales outlets. We're not the only ones on the market who can do this. And there are some legal costs associated with the sale of the shares, but that's paid by the buyer. It's usually just a lawyer who does a simple transfer of share. The lawyer that we work with is, I think, charges about $1,000 to do that transfer. Joey, maybe you can weigh in on that on your side.
Yeah, hi everyone. There's a lot of good content here, and Adrian, as we get into sort of the Pacaso section, I'll go deeper into some of those variances between Adrian Leeds group fractionals and Pacaso. But I think the real strong common denominator is the resale. As many of you may know, it can take you months and months and months to sell your home, your whole home in Paris, even if it's a gem or as a jewel, as Adrian described it, because you just have a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of red tape with notaries and promise de vente. With us, it's just a simple membership assignment in a US LLC. And like Adrian's group, our owners in Europe have never sold for less than what they paid for it, even net of fees. We just did a resale recently that took about 12 days from listing to closing. And I think a lot of that is, like Adrian's team and their properties, they're best in class. We take that very seriously from the onset on the acquisition side. We only buy AAA quality. We don't compromise on assets. And then, of course, just the strong brand behind us, and the ability to kind of move these shares quite easily. But like Adrian, we get that question a lot, and our owners have seen a lot of success on the resale market.
And so we can, yeah, and I've seen shares sell very, very quickly. I know you have too. Yeah. Okay, so that's like not an issue, is to be able to resell it. So it's really an asset. That's what's so amazing about it. So I'm going to let Joey take over now because he's going to talk about Pacaso, and then we're going to show you some properties.
Thank you,
So Joey,
Adrian.
you just tell me when to hit the
Yes.
next slide, okay?
Perfect. So, just by introduction, guys, I'm head of the Europe business for Pacaso. We launched about 6 years ago in the US. Some of you may be familiar with the previous companies that our founders also founded. One big one is Zillow. So our kind of executive team has a lot of experience in real estate and prop tech and financing and capital markets, both domestically and internationally. And that has attracted the likes of SoftBank and Fifth Wall, which are some of the largest venture capital funds. Our first investor was Howard Schultz, who started Starbucks. So we've got a lot of firepower behind us. But the real interesting bit for me is our European business. For an American especially, it's very difficult to go 0 to 1 abroad. Forget things like just language barriers, but just the sheer process of flying over a few times to tour properties and then saying, okay, once I own this, how do I insure it? How do I set up utilities? I've got to furnish it. So I've got to get a crane to put sofas through the windows. There's a lot of difficulty, and our kind of common denominator or North Star for our ownership group is that they want to experience Paris ownership today. They don't want to wait 12 months from now or 2 years from now after all that time traveling back and forth, all the costs. And us, like Adrian's group, we enable that. So we've purchased over $1 billion worth of real estate globally. And the reason I mention that is that that's applicable to our Paris owners through our global swaps, which I'll get into in some later slides. But now, just launched this January, not only can you own 8 times the amount of home through Pacaso in Paris, you have access to trade weeks with our other owners who are all like-minded, very high caliber, smart people. You can trade shares and times rather, and weeks across our global portfolio. And we're in 40 markets across 4 countries. We'll be adding Italy by the end of the year. And there's a lot of markets that we're not in yet that are all on our roadmap for 2026.
That is such a major benefit. I wish I could offer that, but I can't because we're just not a big Picasso, you know? And I think the next slide, right, is how the global swapping works. You want to show that?
Yeah, so it shows how global swapping works, but it also gives you a little bit of insight to how easy the booking system is. Our booking system, it varies a bit from others. We use more of a rolling, very equitable booking system called Smart Stay, which is very much like hotel booking. You can do it with a couple of clicks on the owner's app. You can see which weeks are available, which weeks are not. We have things like special dates and peak seasons to keep it very equitable. As everyone on this call will attest, there's obviously always a good time to be in Paris, but some of us might have our favorites, and we enable that. We've certainly never had an owner buy and then sell because they weren't happy with the scheduling. We know that is really the core of our business, and the core of the success of our business is that owners are getting the time that they want in their home. So you can book 2 years in advance. There's a long runway there. Everything can be done on the app, but we also have a 6-person scheduling team that can offer free white glove service if you need help booking. Some of us do. But this is a really good insight, this slide especially, to how global swaps work. So I'll give you an example of what's happening right now. We have an owner in Paris in our Rue de Bac, 79 Rue de Bac home, which I'll show you later. They have actually now just traded for a week in London. One of their daughters is studying abroad, and now they don't have to stay in a hotel, and they can stay in another fabulous Pacaso home in Mayfair, all through being an owner in Paris. Some other markets we're in are places like Aspen, places like Cabo, places like Miami and Vail and Nantucket and Kiowa and Malibu and Napa, all the fabulous places across the US. And as I mentioned, 2026 is really a year about expansion. And a lot of that is going to take place in Europe. So whether Paris is your favorite place, but maybe you've got a close second favorite, our mission here is to enable owners to experience all their favorite markets. And of course, they're always going to be in fabulous, luxurious Pacaso homes. So there's a lot here on the swaps. Basically, the way I'll sum it up is that it can be done in 2 clicks. You can scroll our inventory and you can see what weeks are available. You can offer the trade. The owner will get a push notification. It can all be done in a matter of seconds. So very, very simple to use. And if anyone has questions on that after this call, happy to go deeper, of course.
Okay, you ready for me to go to the next slide?
Yes, absolutely. This is just kind of outlines what we just talked about. But really what you'll see here is that it's a very seamless process. Again, it can be done in a matter of seconds or even minutes. We offer swaps in all of our markets. And what I can tell you from the trailing data over the last almost 11 months now is that Paris, unsurprisingly, is our #1 sought after swap market.
Of course it is.
Of course it is. And so what does that really mean from a swap side? It means if our owners own a share in Paris, they basically have their choice of where they want to swap into. So we've done dozens of swaps already this year. And our
But
Paris owners have been able.
They don't have to give up their Paris spot.
No,
No.
and swapping is totally your choice. Some owners don't opt into it. They're like, no, I love Paris. That's all we want to do. We already have homes elsewhere. A lot of times people actually own Pacaso shares elsewhere. But it's just, an added benefit that we we developed from owner feedback. Over the years, we listen to our owners, we obsess over, owner feedback and five-star service. And that was something that kept coming up. I own in Paris, but you guys have some brilliant homes in the ski markets in the US or, in California, for example, or up in Lake Tahoe. And so we said, okay, hang on tight, we'll build this. And as Adrian alluded to, it did take a while. There's a lot of logistical and back end, things to manage, which now we've been able to do. And this is really just early iterations of Swap. There's a lot more we can do with it, which we're obviously very excited about.
Joey, what's the second most popular destination?
London.
Ah, okay.
It's those, yeah. If you think about it, it's a lot of our our core businesses in the US, and while there may not be as many potential Francophiles in the US as we have on this call or in our portfolio or in your portfolio, who wouldn't like to do a week in Paris, at any point of the year. So London's a close second, but Paris is certainly the top of the list. And we really just see it as an added benefit for our Paris owners.
I have a feeling you're going to be doing more properties in Paris too.
Absolutely, which we'll get into here.
I want you to come to the South. You have to experience the South. But anyway, go ahead and tell
We're
it. Here you go.
Yes, yes, no, we are certainly evaluating some opportunities in the south of France, which I think is just a natural extension of our Paris business. And as Adrian and Patty and their team has been great partners for us here, I have no doubt they'll continue to be great partners across France, which is quite exciting. What I wanted to show you guys here are kind of two properties of ours. We have now just sold through our fourth property in Paris. Big thanks to Adrian's team for helping us to sell some of those shares. We've been mostly focusing on two-bedroom opportunities in the sixth and the seventh, really top of the market, high end, partnering with the best in-class developers like the Pacaso Group and some others. We only buy really, really high quality. There's reasons why we buy from developers directly, so that we can inherit things like structural guarantees and manufacturer warranties. And inevitably, if we ever need help on fixing things in the home, we have the direct line with the developers, which has played out to be very, very strong for us, and obviously helps maintain and add to the value appreciation opportunities here in our Paris shares. So Rue de Beaux-Arts was our third acquisition that we closed back in the spring. We sold all those shares out very quickly. I think Adrian and Patty, I think you referred us to maybe three clients on that home, which was great. It is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful property. It's our first 3-bed. That one went really quickly. And the reason why I put it on this presentation is that we're working on a new 3-bedroom opportunity not too far away. So what we're doing now is, like all of our homes in Paris, we're going down the wait list, letting people know that we're interested in having those discussions and that we're getting close on a new, very similar opportunity. So if those folks are interested, we can't share details yet, but we can certainly start those conversations.
What about where it is? Where is this new opportunity?
So this one will be in the seventh. We're working directly with the developer on this one as well. Share price will be quite similar to Rue de Beaux-Arts, which is about just under $900,000 per share. It was a fan favorite. Having that third bedroom functionality to invite more friends or family has really served us well. And partnering with a developer like the Pacaso Group, allowed us to deliver a really amazing product. So more to come on that soon. But all I can say is a very fabulous property, and it has all the same specs, AAA specs and finishes and fittings as this one does as well.
Okay. Next, Rue de Beaux.
So Rue de Beaux, this is a live opportunity. This was a home we purchased about a year and a half ago. This is a 2-bedroom lateral flat. Again, we bought this right from the developer. So while they maintained a lot of the original, amazing features like the crown moldings there, these amazing Juliet windows, which are all new now with double glazing, we wanted to lean obviously into some of the older aesthetic. So this home, Adrian, I remember you and I met here. We've toured it together. We have our first resale share available here. to kind of give you a little insight of how easy it is to resell, um, this owner actually is selling their share because they bought a 3-bed at Rue de Beaux-Arts. They bought into the 2-bed because they just didn't want to wait. They were living in New York. They were getting tired of making trips to Paris and not finding the homes that they wanted, or really just stomaching the idea of taking 3 to 6 months to close a home, finding a notary that they trust, not having spoken French. And then it's not like the hard part is over after that. Then it really begins. Getting these homes ready to go, furnishing them, all doing that from abroad is quite tough. So they jumped at the final share at Rue de Beaux-Arts just because they have a couple of kids. So now we have our first opportunity here available, which we're quite excited about. So the location of this is really AAA. It's about 2 blocks back from Boulevard Saint-Germain. It's an amazing flat, one of the oldest wine stores at the ground floor, which can be quite dangerous, but it is really fun to pop in, and we've gotten to know all the shop owners, and our owners in our apartment are loving them as well. So all of our homes, we will always have things like underfloor heating and central air conditioning and fully, new finishes and guarantees like that. So all of our owners are really enjoying this home so far. I think they're really, really loving the micro location. So this is the live opportunity that we have. It's a resale share. I suspect this one won't last long, but we just launched it. So we are certainly open to having conversations about this opportunity here.
Okay. Okay, now we're on to our properties. And these are up, and these are all resale shares. So these are not top level. They're shares that were owned by one of the other owners. And so one of them is in La Belle Terrasse, which is a beautiful little duplex. Actually, it's on 2 levels, but not a full staircase. I think it's like 8 steps up. It's front row in Villefranche-sur-Mer, directly on the port overlooking Cap Ferrat. This is taken from the terrace, which is 10 square meters. And the location it's an amazing location for anybody who knows Villefranche-sur-Mer. Every single property is on a different level, which makes it a difficult place to live and be, except that in this case, this is a 5-minute walk, a level walk to either the train station or the parking lot. So it's really, really, really convenient, and it took us a long time to find that. It is just a 1-bedroom. It has a bathroom with a shower and a separate toilet, the sofa bed in the living room. So it sleeps up to 4, and we have 1 share available for 99,700. We have resold several shares in this property, and they have always sold very, very well for a lot more money. So that's been good. And the owners have really loved this property. For those of you who maybe are familiar with Villefranche, it's a little Romanesque kind of village that's just east of Nice. So it's really only a few minutes by bus or by car or by train to Nice. So you have access to that. And it's a very, very special place. It happens to be the deepest port on the Riviera. So there's a lot of history there as well. And you're overlooking Cap Ferrat, so it's just gorgeous. Then we have 3 shares available in Chez Latour, which is a property that we did not develop, but we have a lot of clients who own here, and it's a beautiful apartment, very bourgeois, in the 7th, in a wonderful location, right near the Eiffel Tower. We have 3 shares available. They are by the month, so it's either December or January or April. But of course, if you were to take December and January, you'd have 2 good solid months to be together, for example, in Paris. It's right on Boulevard de la Tour Maubourg. It's 2 bedrooms with 2 bathrooms. It's only on the first level, and it's pretty large for a 2-bedroom. It's 88 square meters. There is a cave or a cellar with owner's closets. And it's a lovely, well-run apartment, and it just happens that we have these 3 shares right this minute. I would buy the two. The two would be fabulous. You'd have Christmas, you'd have New Year's, and it's a time of year in Paris where it's not very busy. There's not a lot of tourists, but it's gorgeous time of year because of the holidays. It's amazing. Then we have a property also that we did not develop. It's in a Vert Pont du Gard, so it's in the south. And this is actually the Occitanie, but it's just adjacent to Provence. It's called Le Muguet. And it's a beautiful village. It's a village house with two bedrooms and two bathrooms on two levels. It has a very large living room. So it's 40 square meter living room. It has a really large rooftop terrace, 34 square meters, and there is one share available at 76,900. Very, very charming in a gorgeous spot. Patty Sidascus, who's on this, used to live in Nîmes, very nearby. If you guys have ever visited the Pont du Gard, you're near Arles and Uzès and Nîmes, and it's absolutely a beautiful part of France. And now we're open to a Q&A. This link, by the way, is where our properties are promoted. Pacaso's properties are on our website as well, so that you can visit them on our site as well as Pacaso's site. So make note of this slide. And on that note, I'm going to stop the share, okay? And now everybody's there, whoever wants to be on, and we're open to a Q&A. So if anybody has any questions, just unmute and ask.
Wow.
Oh, come on. No
That's
one
a
has,
first.
yeah.
That's a first. Seriously.
So we made such a great presentation that all you guys are out there and you don't have a single question?
We do have a question now in the chat
Okay.
from Carolyn. She wants to know, how are the properties serviced between rotations of owners?
Oh, I'm sure that Joey
To
and I
get
have a similar situation where the management group, the concierge, comes in and does the housekeeping and just and prepares it basically. We also have, you probably do this too, Joey. Our housekeeping team comes in and cleans the apartment weekly, even if the owner is there for several weeks. They get housekeeping. Yeah, it's just taken care of at all times.
Yeah, I'll add one thing there, Adrian. We have a property management team, and then obviously we have a home manager as well. So we have a property management team that'll come in and do a big inspection. So in between stays, they'll do an inventory check just to make sure everything is in order. And then we have a home manager who really liaises with the local cleaners, who's also there when owners arrive. So that's a service that we offer just in case people need a refresher on how things work in the apartment, or recommendations of places to eat or go to. So that's something that's all included, as well as the cleaning.
So, I mean, all the linens are taken care of as well. So you really don't have to do anything at all, other than enjoy the apartment.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's the
Anybody have
point.
questions? Carolyn says,
Carolyn's in.
Carolyn's in. Okay.
It's totally turnkey, Carolyn. Totally turnkey.
Any other questions, you guys? You're so quiet. Are you okay? I mean, I guess if we have no questions, we can honestly, it's gonna be one of those situations because we can say goodbye and good luck. This will be uh put up on our YouTube channel so you can watch this and you can send it to your friends. So there's no problem with that.
But we
But
do have a follow-up question.
okay, how are
It's a,
damages?
and it's a good one, yeah. How were damages, if any, handled?
Joey, what's
I'll
your
jump.
answer?
Yep. So our policy is, and this starts way earlier in this situation, is that all of our owners sign a operating agreement, as well as a home policy clause, which really irons out and really clearly states what happens if it's accidental damage. We budget for that. You know, if plate drops or a glass breaks, that's part of our budget. We're not nickel and diming our owners. If there is more substantial damage, that will be at the cost of the owner and residents. Most of the time, I mean, we haven't had any of these situations, but if there ever is anything on the cusp, the owner will reach out to us, let us know ahead of time. It's not that we have to discover it during our inspections. And I think the reason for that is the type of owners that we have. They're not renters. They treat the home like they own 100% of it. So we really rarely, if ever, have a situation like that. But if there ever was one, we have everything ironed out in the operating agreement and in the home policy manual.
Do you have a security deposit?
We have a reserve fund. So when owners buy shares, they also contribute to a reserve fund. And then on an ongoing basis, part of the monthly cost is a further contribution to the reserve fund.
We actually, in our properties, we do both. We have a security deposit as well as a reserve fund. It's been very rare. The security deposit's been very rarely used.
Mhm.
Normally, if something happens, the owner, because they're owners, they're not renters, they're very quick to, take responsibility for something that's happened. Usually we have found that if they break a glass or a plate, they go out and they replace it right away with more. They just, because they're owners, and when the ownership body's been working together for a while, they're like family. That's why it's
Yeah.
good when they're like-minded, even though they don't actually get to meet one another. They're going to see one another on the meetings and they become friendly. And we've had several
It was
situations
coming into its own
where they become absolutely
in
friends.
terms of influences, in terms of formats, realizing that things needed to change.
So I'll just add something there, Adrian. Our ownership group slightly different, where we have an anonymous ownership group, where Pacaso acts as sort of the non-member manager, the admin. So
Different.
everyone obviously abides, exactly. Everyone abides by those policies. There's a couple follow-up questions. I'll just stick with Carolyn for the second one. What if there's a preference for no smoking or pets? Smoking is not allowed in our properties.
Okay.
And while there is in our operating agreement the ability for a small pet, I've never seen one. Most of the time it's owners based in the US, but we do allow for it, although we've never seen it. But smoking is not allowed.
No, that's the same. That's the same for all of our properties. It's because the owners don't want it. I mean, but the owners could. Now, I don't know if in your case, but in our case, because the owners get to know one another, they could easily decide to vote to allow it if they wanted to. They would have the ability to do that. We have another question here for how do the owners handle the differences in utility costs? And that is just not taken into account. It's shared, period. It's just shared equally, regardless of who uses more water or not. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, I think the one call out is also, these properties are generally more efficient than when you think about maybe a typical second home. We've got homes in places like Napa with vineyards and big pools. I mean, what we're talking about here are, 2 or 3 bedroom apartments, which are run quite efficiently. So we do the same thing, Adrian. We just set up a budget based on trailing actuals. And we've always been able to perform on budget or ahead of budget. So there's never been an issue on that side.
Okay. Let's see. Are there plans for co-ownerships in Neath for 2 or maybe 3 owners instead of many? I can answer that. We are certainly not planning on that. I could help someone put that together for like 2, 3, 4 owners, which would make sense, but I would highly caution you against doing it.
You can also accomplish that by buying multiple shares if they were available in a
Yes,
property.
they could actually, you're right. They could just buy multiple shares in a property that's already developed. But it can also be developed. It's just that the lawyers will tell you that the most problems happen with the fewest number of owners because they're very proprietary. And you could put two or three friends together, and in the course of a year, they might not be friends. Now, it really, as long as they do their documentation, as long as there are bylaws, as long as everyone agrees to them and knows exactly what their responsibilities are, then it could work out very, very well. But I have seen it work very badly as well, especially like with two people, two friends who buy together and haven't really thought about, the exit plan, for example. So
Yeah.
it is possible to do. We can help them develop a property like that, buy a property and set it up. It's not really that complicated. It takes some legal work to do it correctly. But again, I would do it with a lot of caution.
Adrian, I'll add one just because it's so topical. But actually, we closed on one of our properties at Rue Madame through Adrian and Patty. We had a owner buy 3 shares. They were looking to spend about 3 to 4 months in Paris throughout the year. They didn't, see the utility in buying a whole home outright, and so they bought 3 shares in our latest home, which allowed to accomplish that as well. So as Patty alluded to. You can do it in a number of ways. You can kind of build your own, which obviously Adrian can certainly help with, or in any of the properties that Adrian showed, or we showed from Pacaso. There are multiple share ownership opportunities, but 4 is the max that we allow in any of our properties, so that the governance doesn't change, and the majority ownership is always less than 50%.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you get too many too many shares sold to one owner, then they pretty much control the property, and that can cause problems.
Yeah.
So that's a
So we
smart rule.
Mhm.
yes.
Okay. We're on a roll now, gang. Anybody else have any other questions?
Adrian, I did want to note we had somebody interested in properties in the South, and they mentioned Occitanie. You didn't share any slides of the Maison Bees, which is in Occitanie.
Oh, well, that's on our website.
It's
On
on
our
our website, though.
Yeah, on
Yeah.
our website for properties for sale, there's a special rubric, a special section for fractionals. And if you go to fractionals, you'll see, that's right, Maison Bees. We have shares available in Maison Bees?
Yeah, they have a few left. Mhm.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. I'm sorry that I didn't add it to the presentation.
Mhm.
Um, and that's also a lovely property.
Little village house, yeah.
Yeah, and there
Countryside
aren't
village
there
house.
aren't that many properties in the countryside available.
Mm-mm.
No, they're hard to
Well,
find and
and
develop.
La Miguel would be in the Occitanie too.
Yeah, Limousin is in the Occitanie,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
It's technically in the Occitanie, even though it's close to Provence.
Provence, yeah, on the edge, on the edge.
Let's see, are there any standards for sound insulating in these properties, or are these properties generally in more quiet areas of the city? Wow, what a question. Do you want to answer that one, Joey?
Sure. Because we only buy high quality apartments from professional developers, all that soundproofing is already in place. And I think the other bit that's more important from the external side is that every window in any Paris Picasso home is at least double
Double.
glazed.
Of
Yeah.
course.
So when you open those windows on Rue de Bac, you feel like you're an extension of the city, but when you close them, um, you're not hearing anything.
No, but you're in a city, you're in Paris. Joey, I just moved back into my new old apartment, and I now have double paned windows, and I actually miss the sounds of the street. It's too
Mhm.
quiet. It's like I want to know that there's all that life going on out there.
Hmm.
It's so weird. I'm having a strange experience. And when we have clients who are from New York, they don't know what to do with quiet. It's really funny. Like, okay, exactly it's the same sort of story.
Hmm.
But you can't expect to be in the city of Paris and I mean, it's not going to be perfectly quiet unless when you close the windows, or you hear nothing. Nothing. It's
Joey, do
incredible.
your properties have the bedrooms on the courtyard? Because that makes a difference.
They do vary. they do vary per apartment, but in all of our bedrooms, we'll always have, blackout curtains, double glazed windows. So it's when you shut both of those, you wouldn't even
Right.
know if you're in the courtyard or not.
Yeah.
And everyone does have preferences, whether they'd be street facing or interior facing.
Mhm.
But in all of our apartments, you have that optionality.
But all
I
your
want the
apartments
street.
are air conditioned also, right? So you don't really need to have the windows open.
Oh,
What was that? What
All
was
your
that,
properties
Adrian? Sorry.
are air conditioned. So you don't really
Correct.
need to have the windows open at all. You can really maintain the quiet. But you walk out on the street and it's Paris, for crying out loud. You're on Rue de Bac. It's fabulous.
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
It doesn't get better than that. So, okay. Any other questions?
Oh, there's a
See
new one
that?
popped
I
up.
love that. Great. You covered it so well. I have a hard time coming up with questions. I'm glad to hear it. We don't want to take up more time. So it's if you guys out there are okay with it, we're gonna shut down, say goodbye and good luck. If you need to contact any of us, you can go to my website, adrianleeds.com. Uh, look under properties for sale. Under that section, you'll see fractional ownership. You can always contact us at info@adrianleeds.com. Joey, your best email address is what?
jburn@pacaso.com, which I believe is on your
J
website.
J Byrne, Jbyrne. Okay, yeah, but you can go through our site as well. It's all
Yeah,
good. Or drop us a note and we'll connect you and we can help you work through this. And we thank all of you for being here and for listening and for asking your questions. And we'll see you next time around.
great. Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you, guys.
Thank you, Joey. Thank you, Patty. Bye,
Thank
everybody.
you.